Hello everyone. In this episode, we're going to break down the short series I Am Groot. Jumping right in, episode 1 is titled Groot's First Steps, which takes place in between the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Similar to all MCU projects now, the Marvel Studios title card has a twist on it based on the movie or show. In this case, it looks completely animated, considering this is an all-animation series. Interesting enough, the same logo was used by the What If series. So, this same logo may be used with all their future animated works. However, we don't get the traditional intro that shows off key moments within the universe. Instead, Groot pulls up a remote to fast forward through most of it, and ends up destroying the whole set basically in a fourth wall experience. This intro is technically shortened to fit with the short's theme, and we'll also be seeing another character break the fourth wall soon in the upcoming She-Hulk show. Opening the episode is Groot waking up within his pot. You'll notice an interesting purple plant next to him, which turns out to be the same kind Nebula kept trying to get a hold of in the second film. The one that was never quite ripe. What we haven't seen before are these new droids taking care of Groot. I assume the ship has them all over to help keep things in shape, while the Guardians are, busy handling distress calls and other world-ending events. As we watch Groot become more and more upset after being replaced by an alien bonsai tree, at one point he sheds his extra arm length. Similar to how in the first film, he grows both of his arms back after facing Gamora and other instances where he's manipulated his own body. Speaking of other appearances, this episode may show where his love for junk food comes from, as the first thing we see him consume are cheese balls. He also seems to have a bad temper / roughness to his personality in all of these episodes like we've seen before. Another reference in the background is Peter Quill's classic cassette tape that ends up fueling a lot of their adventures, which can be seen behind Groot before his graceful arm slinging. As the two trees fight, we can see a clear green goo come from within the bonsai tree, further proving it's not at all what it appears to be. At the end of the episode, you can even see that Groot attempted to patch the limbs up once he felt bad, as well as feed it cheese balls. Episode 2 is titled The Little Guy, with the episode following the idea that there's essentially always a bigger fish, just like Qui-Gon said in The Phantom Menace. This time, it just so happens to be Baby Groot. It's important to keep in mind that all of these episodes, besides the first one, take place after Guardians 2, which is why they have the Benatar with them. We pick up in a desert landscape, with said Benatar in the background. While the rest of the crew are off doing other things, Groot decides to build himself a little stick home, which he does clearly very well considering he's made of the same thing. But going back to the theme of the episode, we're introduced to our first bigger fish known as a Vailu. We know this because each episode has a disclaimer at the end, making sure everyone knows that no trees or certain creatures were harmed in the making. It might be just me, but when I saw the tongue, it reminded me of the Laffy Taffy from Wreck-It Ralph 2. Like I said, it's probably just me. But what's cool is that in my rewatch of the episode, I noticed that you can actually see the Vailu watching Groot build his house from the opening scene. Soon after it takes over Groot's creation, our next bigger fish is seen taking him away. The end disclaimer also calls this new species a manta bird creature, which I don't think we've ever seen before, but we have however seen the Vailu species in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Now my favorite scene from all of these shorts is his tantrum. I had to rewind it and watch it again because it just caught me off guard so much. Honestly, this may be my favorite episode as well. Then we see Groot finally become the bigger fish for once as we meet the race known as the Tiny Blue Grunts, according to the disclaimer. They put up quite a fight, possibly even aging and evolving at a faster rate than most, considering their first attacks were more practical as they wore face paint, up to the final attacks that had lasers and jetpacks. Ending the fight is Groot's leaf fart, which I guess makes sense in a weird sort of plant way. But for becoming so advanced, it's wild to think the tiny civilization never solved their food problem until then. And the best detail of that had to have been the poor old lady crying, which actually also helped me admire the detail they put into Groot, and the series as a whole, even though they were short and didn't have a big impact on the rest of the MCU. Ending the episode similar to the last one, Groot ends up having a change of heart and decides to help the Grunts by gathering them more leaves. That is, until he steps on them, but thankfully all of them, or at least a few, survived. Episode 3 is titled Groot's Pursuit, which takes place on the ship part of the team stole in the second movie known as the Eclector. For one of, if not the first time, we see Groot actually wearing clothes. He can be seen in pajamas that, of course, have trees on them as well as some mushrooms. To further show off his size, we see Groot put on an alien kind of Apple Watch on around his head as a flashlight. This is clearly more of a spooky story for the character as he tries to find what's making a mess inside the ship. After charging into the bathroom, he stops for a break with some reading time. As he's dropping a few more leaves, the book he's reading can be translated to Dumps Happen. But on the cover are some interesting images, such as Thanos, which is scary in itself, the same Vilu bird as in the last episode, a purple banana that we will see later, and what appears to be the tail of another bird. Maybe it's from the squirrel-like creature in episode 4. On the same note, I like how we get these alien versions of common Earth things, but then we end up seeing the classic green-headed alien depiction most people assume aliens look like. We get a callback to the first Guardians film with a similar dance-off between Groot and the watery alien, just like Peter Quill did against Ronan. This time, the villain actually dances with the hero, which is ultimately what helps Groot make the right decision. I can say without a doubt that if I saw that thing transform into a couple of huge monsters right before me, I'd throw it out the airlock too. Although Groot probably did it because he criticized his dancing. Episode 4 is titled Groot Takes a Bath. The description confirms that in this series, he's a toddler of the Flora Colossi race. We pick up inside of an alien jungle where Groot decides to take a bath once he finds a mud puddle. Now it's a little hard to tell, but it kind of seems like something inside of the water makes his leaves grow rapidly. Unless, of course, that just always happens. This could have just been the first time he's ever experienced it, given the loud panic scream that immediately reminded me of the Minions. As he trims the new leaves, he makes his hand into a pair of scissors. Personally, I don't think I knew he could change his limbs quite like that before. It reminded me of Venom or Carnage with the way he can make things sharper rather than only being able to extend them. But with this, he gets the idea to play dress up, cutting the leaves into whatever outfit or shape he wants. Some of the things he changes into are a centaur, a poodle, a dolphin, a strongman, and basically Disney Princess Groot. After recently watching Thor: Love and Thunder, the dolphin made me think of the space dolphins we saw in that movie, which are more likely to be what Groot has seen instead of normal Earth ones. In this disclaimer, the colorful creature Groot upsets is called a Gangalorian squirrel bird, which I don't believe we've seen before. But we do see Groot's temper come back in a horrific way as he literally skins the creature's fur off of him. At this moment, I knew he's not one to be messed with at any age. Then the episode ends with a happy baby Groot walking back towards the Benatar with a nice new scarf. Episode 5 is titled Magnum Opus, which basically means an important work of art. The short opens up with a backpack, which is actually Peter Quill's from the first film before he was brought to space. It has a NASA badge and the ghost from Pac-Man, both popular things from his childhood. Within the backpack itself is also an Alf comic book, with a surprising Easter egg on the back. It turns out it's actually an ad for the same drink that was in the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, the one that Stan Lee drank with the Hulk's blood in it. This episode definitely seemed to be the most intertwined with the other Guardians. We not only sort of see Drax, but we literally see and hear Rocket. The episode even sounds like a typical Guardians adventure. Speaking of their previous adventures, the Anulax battery stolen from the Sovereign and Guardians 2 can be seen among the things Groot collects. You can also see more cheese balls, just like in the first episode. Another item stolen from Peter Quill is one of his boots he uses to fly around. During this montage, we also see that Groot has become even more skillful at using bombs after the gag in the second film. But one of the grossest details I noticed this episode is that the soap stolen from Drax literally has strands of hair on it. And that's something I probably could have gone without seeing. And then the most shocking detail is the finished artwork. It appears to be the moment the original Groot sacrificed himself, which is crazy considering this isn't the same one. This is even supported by Rocket saying, "Look how big you are." This means that perhaps Baby Groot was told the story of his former self's sacrifice? Or could have some very vague memories of the event. Either way, it was a very touching thing to see. Overall, I really enjoyed this series of shorts. I found them all super entertaining all the way through. The animation was basically perfect for something this small in size, and the stories never lagged. I'd say the first one was the least entertaining, but that doesn't mean it was bad by any means. I just simply liked the rest more, with the little guy probably being my favorite. Even if it was made for a younger audience, I'd be so down for more as soon as possible, because this will be rewatchable for quite a while. But what did you think? Did you enjoy this series? Comment your thoughts below, and if there's anything I missed, because I'd love to hear it. And that's that. See ya.